The moment my sister's plan to seize my inheritance collapsed, was the moment I realized how close I had come to losing everything. Not just money. My dignity, my name. My father's last memory of me. I still remember the exact second it started. I was standing in the hallway of our childhood home, holding a cup of tea I didn't even drink, when I heard my sister's voice through the half-closed door. "She doesn't need to know yet," she said calmly. "By the time she finds out, it'll already be done." Something in my chest dropped. I froze. I knew in that instant that whatever she was planning, it involved me. My sister, Sarah, had always been the golden child, louder, smarter, sharper, the one who knew how to smile in front of people and stab behind their backs without leaving fingerprints. I was the quiet one, the patient one, the one who believed family meant safety. I was wrong. Our father had died 3 months earlier. A sudden heart attack, no warning, no goodbye. Just a phone call that split my life into before and after. At the funeral, Sarah cried the loudest, held the microphone, talked about how close she was to Dad. People hugged her, told her how strong she was. I stood at the back, numb, replaying the last message my father had sent me. "I've taken care of things. Don't worry." At the time, I didn't know what he meant. After the funeral, Sarah changed. She started visiting lawyers, asking questions, making suggestions. "You don't really understand finances," she told me one afternoon. Dad trusted me with that stuff. I believed her. Because I wanted peace, because I was grieving. That was my mistake. A week later, she showed up with documents, thick folders, sticky notes everywhere. "Just sign here," she said casually. "It's for probate, routine stuff." I scanned the pages, legal language, long paragraphs. My name appeared, but something felt off. "Why does this say full authority?" I asked. She smiled. A soft, rehearsed smile. "It's just wording. You know how lawyers are?" I didn't sign. That night, I couldn't sleep. My father's words echoed in my head. "I've taken care of things." So I did something Sarah never expected. I went through Dad's old study. The room still smelled like him. Old books, wood polish, coffee. My hands shook as I opened drawers, flipped through files, checked behind books. Then I found it. A sealed envelope. My name written on it in my father's handwriting. Inside was a letter and a copy of his updated will. My heart pounded as I read. He had split everything evenly. The house, the savings, the investments. But there was more. A clause. If either daughter attempted to manipulate, coerce, or legally undermine the other to gain a larger share, her portion would be placed in trust controlled by the other sibling. I sat on the floor and cried. Not from happiness. From heartbreak. My father knew. He knew what Sarah was capable of. And he tried to protect me even after death. The next day, I didn't confront her. I waited. Sarah doubled down. She started telling relatives that I was emotionally unstable. That I wasn't handling grief well. That maybe she should temporarily manage my share. I smiled. I nodded. I stayed silent. Inside I was building something much stronger than anger, a plan. I hired my own lawyer. Quietly. Privately. I showed him the will, the letter, everything. He looked up at me and said, "Your father was very smart." Then he paused. "So are you if you don't rush this." Sarah thought she was winning. She invited me to a family meeting. Lawyers present. Papers ready. Her voice confident. She spoke for 20 minutes straight. About responsibility. About trust. About how she was only trying to help me. Then she slid a document across the table. "Just one signature," she said. "And this will all be over." I looked at her. Really looked at her. At the way her fingers tapped impatiently. At the slight tension in her jaw. At the certainty in her eyes that I was weak. I stood up. "I have something to read," I said. She frowned. "This isn't the time." "It is," I said calmly. I pulled out my father's letter, and I loud, every word. The room went silent. Her lawyer's face changed first. Then the others, then Sarah. Her smile collapsed. "That letter was meant for both of you," her lawyer said slowly. "And this clause, it's enforceable." Sarah laughed nervously. "This is ridiculous. She's twisting." Then my lawyer stood. "And we have documented proof," he said, "of attempts to coerce, misrepresent, and bypass consent." He placed emails on the table, messages, recorded voicemails. I hadn't rushed. I had waited. Sarah's face went pale. "What does this mean?" she whispered. Her lawyer didn't look at her. It means, he said, you triggered the clause. The room felt heavy, like the air itself was judging her. Her share wasn't gone, but it was no longer hers to control. The house, the accounts, the investments, all placed under my authority. Sarah didn't scream, she didn't cry. She just stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. I leaned forward and said quietly, I trusted you. That was the only revenge I needed to say out loud. After that day, she stopped calling. Relatives stopped whispering. And for the first time since my father died, I slept peacefully. Sometimes people ask me if I feel guilty. I don't. Because I didn't take anything that wasn't already mine. I didn't destroy her. She destroyed herself. All I did was stop stepping out of the way. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. The real collapse of my sister's plan didn't happen in that lawyer's office. That was just the moment the walls cracked. The collapse came later, when she realized she had lost something much bigger than money. For weeks after the meeting, Sarah disappeared. No calls, no texts, no public drama. People assumed she was processing. I knew better. She was regrouping. She had always done that. When things didn't go her way, she went quiet, studied the room, and waited for another angle. And sure enough, the angle came. One evening my phone buzzed. A message from a cousin I barely spoke to. Hey, just checking. Are you okay? Sarah said you've been acting strangely. I stared at the screen. So that was the new plan. When she couldn't take my inheritance directly, she tried to take my credibility. Over the next few days, the pattern became clear, subtle messages. Concerned calls, fake sympathy. She's worried about you. She thinks you're overwhelmed. She just wants to protect the family assets. Protect them. From me. I could feel the old version of myself rising. The one who wanted to explain, to defend. To prove I wasn't crazy. But that version of me had almost lost everything, so I stayed silent. Again. Instead, I documented everything. Every message. Every call. Every offhand comment that came back to me. I let her talk. Let her exaggerate. Let her lie. And then I invited her to talk. Just the two of us. She came over one afternoon. Unannounced but perfectly dressed, like she was walking into a negotiation, not a sister's house. She looked around slowly. The living room. The furniture. The framed photo of Dad on the shelf. So, she said lightly, you're enjoying all this? I didn't answer. She sighed and sat down. People are worried about you. People, I asked. She shrugged. Family. Friends. You've been distant. I met her eyes. You mean quiet? She smiled thinly. Same thing? There it was, the gaslighting. Calm, polished, confident. I just want what's best for you, she continued. This situation put a lot on your shoulders, maybe too much. I waited. I was thinking, she said, leaning forward, maybe we should revisit the trust arrangement. Temporarily. Until you're more settled. That was the moment I knew. She still believed I was the same sister who would fold under pressure. I stood up and walked to the shelf. I picked up Dad's photo. You know what he told me once? I said. She rolled her eyes slightly. Not another speech. He said. I continued calmly, that the most dangerous people are the ones who smile while they test your boundaries. Her expression flickered. I turned around. I know what you've been telling people, I said. About my mental state. About my stability. She laughed softly. You're imagining things. I pulled out my phone. And I played the voicemail. Her voice filled the room. She's not herself lately. I'm honestly worried she might make bad decisions. She went still. I played another. And another. Text messages appeared on the screen. Screenshots. Names. I didn't interrupt you. I said quietly. I let you talk. Her face hardened. What are you trying to do? I'm doing nothing, I replied. You already did it. She stood up abruptly. You think this makes you powerful? No, I said. I think this makes me safe. She stepped closer. You always wanted to win, didn't you? I almost laughed. No, I said. I wanted peace. You wanted control. That was the first time she raised her voice. You don't deserve any of this, she snapped. Dad only favored you because you played weak. I felt the sting. But it passed. He didn't favor me, I said. He prepared for you. That sentence broke something in her. She left without another word. 2 weeks later, the consequences hit. Her lawyer dropped her as a client. Then another did the same. Why? Because she had crossed a line. My lawyer had formally notified the family trust of her attempts to discredit me. Mental fitness accusations without evidence. Coordinated narratives. Pressure tactics. All violations. The trust didn't just restrict her access further. It required oversight. Every expense she made was now reviewed. Every request delayed. Every move monitored. The woman who once controlled rooms now needed permission. And the family noticed. The whispers changed direction. Suddenly, people weren't asking if I was okay. They were asking what happened to Sarah. She tried to save face, smiling at gatherings, laughing too loudly, talking too much. But power once lost leaves a shadow. The final moment came months later. A family dinner, big table. Everyone present. Sarah raised a toast, about unity, about healing. Halfway through, she looked at me, and to my sister, she said, forcing a smile. For stepping up. The room waited. I stood slowly. To Dad, I said, for knowing us better than we knew ourselves. Silence. I didn't look at Sarah. I didn't need to. That night, I realized something important. Revenge isn't loud, it doesn't shout or humiliate. Real revenge is watching someone face the consequences of the choices they were sure would never catch up to them. I didn't take my sister's inheritance. I took away her illusion of control. And in the end, that was the one thing she never knew how to live without. After that dinner, something shifted permanently. Sarah didn't call me anymore. She didn't confront me. She didn't even try to explain herself. She watched. I could feel it. At family events, her eyes followed me quietly. Like she was waiting for me to slip, to panic. To prove her right, I never did. I kept my routine simple. Work, home, quiet evenings. No drama, no public reactions. I became boring on purpose. And that terrified her more than anger ever could. Because when people like Sarah can't read you, they lose control. Months passed. Then one morning, I received an email from the trust administrator. It was short. Due to continued irregular requests and misrepresentation of information, additional restrictions have been applied. I sat there staring at the screen. I hadn't pushed for that. She had done it to herself. Later that day, my aunt called me. Her voice hesitant. I didn't want to believe it. She said. But Sarah came to me, asking me to sign something. She said it was just a form. My grip tightened around the phone. What kind of form? She wanted me to confirm you were struggling, my aunt admitted. Emotionally unstable. That you couldn't manage things. I closed my eyes. Even after everything, she still tried. But this time, it backfired harder than ever. My aunt refused. Then she warned others. And suddenly, the story Sarah had been whispering for months fell apart in public. People started comparing notes. Different versions. Different lies. The concern turned into suspicion. And suspicion turned into distance. That's when Sarah finally broke her silence. She showed up at my door one evening. No makeup. No perfect hair. Just exhaustion and anger tangled together. You ruined my life, she said the moment I opened the door. I didn't invite her in. I didn't touch your life. I replied. You did. She laughed bitterly. You think you're better than me now? No, I said honestly. I think I'm done being smaller than you. Her eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time. I was supposed to be the one in charge, she whispered. Everyone listened to me. I felt something soften inside me. Not forgiveness, clarity. You confused control with love, I said. Dad didn't. That name hit her hard. He didn't trust me, she said quietly. I shook my head. He knew you. Silence stretched between us. For a second, I thought she might apologize. She didn't. Instead, she straightened up, wiped her face and said, This isn't over. I looked at her calmly. It is for me. She walked away. That was the last time we spoke. The real ending didn't come with shouting or tears. It came slowly. Sarah moved away. Changed numbers. Drifted out of family conversations. Invitations stopped coming. Not because I asked. Because people finally saw her without the mask. And me. I stayed. I rebuilt the house, room by room. I kept my father's study exactly the same. I planted a tree in the backyard. Something that would grow quietly, steadily. Sometimes I sit there and think about how close I came to losing everything. Not because I was weak, but because I trusted the wrong person. The moment my sister's plan collapsed wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was the moment she realized I would no longer save her from herself. And that was the moment I truly inherited what my father left me. Not the money. Not the house. But the strength to stand still while someone else destroyed their own lives. For a long time after that, life went quiet. Not empty, quiet. The kind of quiet that feels strange when you've lived in emotional noise your whole life. At first, I kept expecting something. Another message. Another accusation. Another sudden crisis she would try to drag me into. Nothing came. Weeks turned into months. And that's when I understood the final truth. People like my sister don't stop because they feel guilty. They stop because they run out of power. The last update I heard about her didn't come from family. It came from a stranger. A mutual acquaintance ran into me at a grocery store. "I heard about your sister," she said carefully. I didn't ask questions, I just waited. "She told people she was treated unfairly. That you turned everyone against her." I nodded once. "But," the woman continued, lowering her voice, "no one really listens anymore. That was it, no drama, no explosion, just irrelevance. And for someone like Sarah, that was worse than losing money. Because money can be rebuilt. Control can't." One evening, I went back into my father's study again. I opened the same drawer where I had found the letter months earlier. This time, I wasn't searching. I was remembering. I realized something I had missed before. My father hadn't designed the will to punish my sister. He designed it to reveal her. He knew that given enough rope, she wouldn't need help destroying herself. And he trusted me to be patient enough to let that happen. That patience became my revenge. Not sharp. Not cruel, just unmovable. The house feels different now. Lighter, like it finally belongs to someone who won't turn it into a battlefield. Sometimes I wonder if Sarah ever understood the moment she truly lost. It wasn't when the lawyers spoke. It wasn't when the trust changed. It wasn't when people stopped calling her. It was when she realized I no longer reacted. No fear, no pleading, no anger. Just calm. That was the moment her plan collapsed completely. Because the sister she thought she could control no longer needed to fight. She just stood still. And watched the truth finish the job. Years passed. Not the kind of years filled with headlines or announcements. Just life moving forward. I changed the curtains in the house. Painted the walls. Learned how to fix small things myself. The home stopped feeling like a battlefield frozen in time, and started feeling like a place that breathed again. People stopped associating my name with drama. They stopped lowering their voices around me. I became normal. And that was something Sarah never achieved. Every now and then, her name surfaced. Always indirectly. Always unfinished. She's starting over. She's trying something new. She says she was misunderstood. The stories never lasted. Because when someone builds their identity on manipulation, there's nothing solid to stand on once the manipulation fails. One afternoon, I received a final letter from the trust. Nothing alarming, nothing emotional, just confirmation. All temporary restrictions were now permanent. All authority formally transferred. All matters resolved. I folded the letter and placed it back in the drawer. No celebration, no victory speech, just closure. That night, I sat alone in the living room with the lights off, listening to the quiet hum of the house. I thought about the version of myself who once stood in a hallway, holding a cup of tea, overhearing a plan meant to erase her. That person felt like someone I used to know. I whispered something into the empty room. "You did good." Not to my sister, to myself. Because the hardest part wasn't exposing her. It was resisting the urge to become like her. I never needed to humiliate her publicly. Never needed to take more than what was mine. Never needed to scream. I let the truth speak. And the truth doesn't rush. If there's one thing I learned, it's this. The most powerful revenge isn't destruction. It's survival with dignity. The moment my sister's plan collapsed, she thought she lost an inheritance. What she really lost was the ability to control my life. And that loss followed her long after the money stopped mattering. As for me, I inherited peace. And that was something no one could ever take from me again.